Morning. After yesterday's iconic retail awards for the food and grocery segment, I was thinking the rapid changes, what is happening in India, and the kind of models which young entrepreneurs are bringing in tier 2, tier 3 cities and growing rapidly. And today we are shifting our focus to something which has been a recent phenomenon. But if you look back, the opening page of my presentation, I always remember this 2006 December magazine of Time, on which they put you as the person of the year. And that was when it had a mirror, as you can see, and you. So the internet revolution, though it is 30 years old, the actual power coming to the customer, you, in a world dominated not by brick and mortar, not a physical space, but a space which has no boundaries, which you could reach, was actually initiated from this period. And you look at the iconic brands which were there till then, and how they were challenged thereafter by the D2C brands. When you look at a simple product which we are all familiar with, a lot of men in this room, the Gillette had a 70% market share when the dollar shaving company in US challenged them. And it rapidly declined. And when I looked at two brands which are almost like parallel in India, from the US model, the Parker, the Warby Parker, which is the eyeglasses, and India, the Lenskart. Both started in 2010. So when you look at the actual transformation in this space, which is the D2C brands, though we heard the presentation prior to this, defining that digital first, but I think that perception also will undergo change because he put up also how the mega brands are actually moving from physical to digital and occupying 50% of the market. However, for the current situation, when we look at, we are seeing that India has had this start of DTC brands sometime in 2016, where it is reported that large number of brands started entering the space. But I would say that, like the Charles Dickens famous statement, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. COVID also had its best of times by the digital acceleration. And I believe the confidence of the market to really go with DTC brands and challenge the mega brands' weakest points and attack them was really discovered more and more in this period of dark times of COVID, which was very digitally very good for these brands. So now let us look at, though there are the Avendus Capital, which says that there is an addressable market of 100 billion for DTC brands by 2025. And addressable market currently is about 33 billion. And it was said that the figures currently really being operated, the previous presentation had gone into the detail. I'm not going into that. However, if you read two of the major articles in the Harvard Business Review, they take a view that, especially Ben Lehrer has been quoted, who is a media mogul, I think. I'm not too sure, but I think he's quoted often in the media space. Ben Lehrer says that when DTC brand started, everybody associated this word with innovation. A lingering sense of innovation is the word used. However, he says that on a lifetime value, when you're looking at a customer, how you are innovating in every part of that particular journey of the customer with you as a brand is going to determine the kind of engagement, the kind of lifetime value margin which you are able to generate from this DTC brand. So if that is so, they call it a branding kind of approach of just putting a colorful logo and calling a label a brand might be misleading. And that is where the power of design needs to be rediscovered in the digital business strategy of the brands which we talk about in this DTC system. So, while there is an opportunity and there is an infused digital acceleration, some of them are being rushed into entering the market and later finding expensive mistakes have been made, one of which is not putting design as the core of the brand strategy. And that is where I would like to spend a little bit of time in this presentation. Now, 20 years ago, DTC looked very different when it was making the early beginnings. But today, the customer acquisition cost, I was reading that in this period of 2020, the Warby Parker, which I referred to, has said that 49% increase in the cost of acquisition and a 19% increase in actually digital media buying or the social media buying cost. So if the digital cost of acquisition of a customer goes up and the lifetime value margin is not giving you that return, then there is a problem. That is why the previous presentation said that large number of market exist in the region below 20 crores. And scaling up is a different ball game altogether. Because the entire concept is not something dramatic. When I was teaching at NIFT Delhi long ago, there was a book by Mac Hannon. I could be wrong in the spelling because it is a book which I read. It's called The Long Tail. The e-tailing market is all about long tail. The long tail is about the lifetime value. And if you're not engaging the customer for a long distance player approach with a interesting design strategy at the core of the brand, because that is what makes the emotional connect. The product is only one part of the story. Then there is the brand communication, and then there is the customer support and service, the engagement, and that is where probably the DTC brand should make a difference. Because what did DTC brands try to achieve? They tried to achieve by removing the middlemen, having access to the individual customer's data in depth. So the whole strategy is about personalization and customization for an individual customer, as different from the mass marketing approach of mega brands in the retail space. So, but if you want to do personalization and customization of the communication to each individual consumer, then you need to connect to him, to her and him, as much as more than probably the physical brands. Physical brands are visceral brands. From visceral to digital and phygital words as we see, there is a tremendous amount of difference which the consumer connect expects from you. Because as I said earlier, there is a lingering connection to innovation in the minds of the customer when they think about the DTC. But when the DTC brands enter commoditizable channels, they lose the individuality. For example, I don't know whether people are there in the Amazon in this group, but as an academic, I couldn't bother. 63% of all searches for any product land up in single system called Amazon. But if any DTC brands becoming impatient about whether the channel is the brand or brand is the channel or brand alone should stand, get confused in the hurry to scale up, to become part of an easy access to a distribution channel. And that is where probably you will end up in Amazon, and then you find that it commoditizes the brand, it commoditizes the pricing, the discount, the entire operation, and you suddenly feel that, where did I lose? And that is one of the report in the Harvard Business Review says, some of the brands, I think it is the Allbirds, started losing the new customers by almost from 59%, it came down to 49 or so in this period. So if you are going to then weigh, how do you then connect the customer to retain the market and stand with you for a long time? So these are very, it was just to refer to these Allbirds and these brands. I'm not going into Warby Parker and all that I've already mentioned. Some of the, interesting part of it is when I was the director of the National Institute of Design, Ahmedabad, when we introduced two courses. One was called the User Interface Design in the new campus in Gandhinagar, and one in the Bangalore Research and Development Campus, Digital Experience course as a postgraduate program. People were aghast at that point. I'm talking about 2005-06, when we introduced these two programs in these two new campuses. One was inaugurated in 2006 February, and the other was inaugurated in April in Gandhinagar. Both these campuses had these two new programs. Today I ran into in Hyderabad Design Week, and a lot of design students from NID I met there, and they said that we are getting good employment. Every new brand which is coming in thinks that taking a designer from NIFT or NID would serve them, and therefore they probably user interface or other kind of design programs. The talent acquisition is driven by these students who are coming out of these primary institutes, which is a very good thing. However, how are they being used? Is it only for that bland brand approach, or is it to create experiential design? Because there are only three silos: products, services, experience. Every product needs to have some service, and that service should transform to experience. And all three combined is what DTC are supposed to deliver in an innovative form, because you have to discover value through the entire travel of the customer. While the brand remains the same, the products under that evolve. And that is what probably the earlier presentation said, though it was not that clarified, that brands may remain just the same. But the products under that keep evolving as the customer travels the journey in this new context. So that is where probably the user, in the digital world, the design becomes a major differentiator. It was the previous MIT director, Nicholas Negroponte, who said that incrementalism is the enemy of innovation. And it is very much true, because in our hurry to do things, enough research does not go into the customer behavior and how the customer expectations are. Therefore, it's also, I think, Steve Jobs who said, it's not the customer's job to know what they want. It is the job of people who are sitting in this room and others to research it. And that is where probably we tend to make the mistake of taking design lightly as probably just changing the color from purple to yellow or yellow to magenta or something. That is not the design. Design, it does not cost, it pays. But if it has to pay, it needs to be woven and be interlinked to the warp and weft of the strategy of this brand. And that is where it becomes the first touch point and how the customers evolve over a period of time. Now, in the physical to visceral, actually physical is visceral, from visceral to virtual, and virtual to digital, and then now the new forms which we talk about, because every brand wants to exist, like this Warby Parker or this Allbirds. All of them started omni-channel introductions, mainly because they were probably a little bit confused whether this customers who are seeking their products from digital first approach is fully satisfied. So they also started the omni-channel approach. However, the new point which you need to look at is, these brands, can it traverse in both these worlds? A physical brand expectation of a brand in the digital world is not having enough haptic devices to have the touch and feel. So even if you have the haptic devices, the Lenskart top man has said that augmented reality will change the way these two worlds can be probably merged, or it can have a bridge. I hope it happens, because they have already equipped, at least I am told that Warby Parker allows you to take a credit card and puts under the nose and make the pupillary distance calculation. So if that is possible, and those kind of techniques are brought in by people to connect you to the actual prescription-led glasses, then maybe that there will be more augmented reality and blockchain-led solutions which will emerge for the DTC brands. But currently, I do believe this transformation of the design from physical to visceral to virtual to phygital to digital, and then having this two legs in two baskets or two channels, need a different approach to the design strategy itself. Now, the DTC playbook has been referred to in the previous presentation. I do not want to go into too much about it, but I just wanted to say that the optimizing the e-commerce channels and how the current non-DTC brands are observing the change. I saw I think it is another research. It says that 81% of the non-DTC brands marketers feel that DTC brands have affected or transfigured the consumer behavior. And 80% of them, they say that their expectations are also being influenced by the DTC brands. So obviously, there is a reaction from the mega brands to this phenomenon. And that is what is referred to in the previous presentation as the mega brands, when they enter this space and start to occupy, because the customer recall, I find that Marks and Spencer, maybe because I'm a customer normally, I am just attacked in every form wherever I open. Marks and Spencer opens up. Now, you can call it a digital attack almost when you see the current interest of the mega brands to occupy space of not only the eyeball, but also the mind share and also to the market share. This travel from the visual space, eyeball share to mind share to market share is being reinforced by the mega brands using all the strategies which they can amass. Now, the DTC brands need to therefore move from tactical design approach to a strategic design approach. The strategic design approach will necessitate the DTC marketer to completely look at the lifetime travel and mold the strategy in such a manner that design and its experience translates into an emotional connect. Because otherwise, the brands get dropped in no time. Because there is nothing called customer loyalty. It is only about customer engagement. And the more you are able to make that customer engage over a period of time with you, it might result in the conversions which you are looking for, and therefore the margins which you are expecting to get. So obviously there is a lot need to be done about the strategic design travel. The last point which I want to mention is that so far we have been used to using our mobiles and various kinds of web devices and the laptops and things like that to reach, and that is where the DTC brands were looking at to reach you through. However, as you can see in the next 10 years, Bill Gates, it seems to have said that we overestimate the next 2 years and underestimate the next 5 to 10 years. But with the 5G and the blockchain and the artificial intelligence and the kind of changes taking place, you will find that the voice revolution is going to completely transform the devices you are going to interact with. And that is where the design strategy of the DTC brands need to not be reactive, but be proactive to look at the humongous voice revolution that is about to happen, where the village people, if you look at a large number of rural people, tend to spend voice messages to you than text messages which we do in the urban places. They are very comfortable with voice revolution. And there will be a massive, India being a 1.3 billion population with 500 million people in the age group of 15 to 59, 62.5%, I think the population are in the working population, which is supposed to rise to 65 to 66%. If that kind of a transformation happens in a country which is still struggling with gross enrollment ratio of just about 25%, and with skill levels being less than 20%, you are looking at the skill levels being stuck in a period and your literacy, iteracy, numeracy standards still struggling in a country. Voice revolution is going to change the way the interaction is going to happen with the DTC brands. So I think it is an exciting time. I want to thank you. Thank you, Anish, for your support always. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.